Дорогие друзья,
in his first public comments since the end of a short-lived rebellion inside his country over the weekend, a defiant Russian President Vladimir Putin on Monday condemned the armed mutiny by Wagner mercenaries and at the same time said he had deliberately let the 24-hour revolt go on as long as it did to avoid bloodshed and that it had reinforced national unity.
это гражданская солидарность.
This civil solidarity has shown that any blackmail, any attempt to create internal turmoil is doomed to failure. I repeat, we saw the greatest consolidation of society.
Putin did acknowledge there was bloodshed in the weekend rebellion, but blamed it on the Wagner Group.
Однако организаторы мятежа
The organizers of the rebellion, having betrayed their country, their people, also betrayed those whom they dragged into the crime. They lied to them, pushed them towards death, under fire, to shoot their own people. It was precisely this outcome, fratricide, that Russia's enemies wanted, both the neo-Nazis in Kyiv and their Western masters, and all sorts of national traitors. They wanted Russian soldiers to kill each other.
убивали друг друга.
The televised statement appeared intended to draw a line under the mutiny, which numerous Western leaders saw as exposing Putin's vulnerability since invading Ukraine. Earlier on Monday, U.S. President Joe Biden said he spoke with key allies about the uprising to make sure everyone was coordinated in their response.
They agreed with me that we had to make sure we gave Putin no excuse. Let me emphasize, we gave Putin no excuse to blame this on the West or to blame this on NATO. We made clear that we were not involved. We had nothing to do with it. This was part of a struggle within the Russian system.
Biden's message that the West was not involved was sent directly to the Russians through various diplomatic channels, according to White House National Security spokesperson John Kirby.
We had good, direct communications with the Russians over the course of the weekend. It's our expectation that that would be able to continue going forward. It's just too soon to know, after the weekend's events, where Wagner goes as an entity or where Mr. Prigozhin goes in terms of his leadership of it.
Yevgeny Prigozhin, who leads the Wagner Group, said the rebellion, which he called a march for justice, was intended to remove corrupt and incompetent Russian commanders, including Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu, who he blames for botching the war in Ukraine. At around 11 p.m. Moscow time, Putin was shown on television addressing a meeting with the heads of his security departments, including Shoigu, but Putin did not mention any planned personnel changes at the Defense Ministry.
Email exchanges from inside the BBC, they talk about the risk of violating Indian laws. It's easier to rake up the freedom of speech debate, but does it give anyone a free pass to knowingly violate the law? America supports India because it needs India's support in return. And India is working with the US because it suits India's interests. This is how geopolitics works. Last night, he diffused a crisis with his defense minister. But today, Netanyahu was confronted with a new problem. His cabinet seems to have rebelled against him. The UK is looking at the Indian subcontinent to fill its coffers. That India seems to be negotiating from a position of power, like a partner and not a former colony.